Hawks here in Tucson, Arizona. It's the Houston Dynamo and Portland Timbers in the nightcap of this doubleheader in the Desert Friendlies. Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Peterson with you tonight from Keno Sports Complex. A 1-1 draw between Vancouver Whitecaps FC and the San Jose Earthquakes. An exciting second half in that one. The Dynamo in orange, Portland in green, and we'll quickly get through these starting lineups. First, for the Portland Timbers, in goal, it's the Ghanaian, Adam Larson Rorasi. The back four from right to left for Portland, Alvis Powell, Nat Borchers, Norberto Paparazzo, and Jorge Villafana. The middle four for Caleb Porter, Darlington Nagbe on the right, Diego Chara, and Ben Zemansky in the middle. Rodney Wallace is on the left. Up front, Gaston Fernandez and Fernando Adi. That's the starting 11 for Portland. The Houston Dynamo have Tyler Derrick in goal. Back four from right to left, Kofi Sarkodie, Raul Rodriguez, Jermaine Taylor, and DeMarcus Beasley. A middle four from right to left, Lionel Miranda, Zach Steinberger, Ricardo Clark, and Brad Davis. Will Bruin, Giles Barnes up front. We are underway. Our referee, Edvin Jurasevich. And the Dynamo gain a free kick right around midfield. Giles Barnes taken down by Nat Borchers. Both these teams got off on the right foot in their first game of the preseason. It's been a week for Portland. They beat Kansas City 2-0 last Saturday. A penalty goal from Gaston Fernandez got things started. Michael Nanchoff made it 2-0 for Portland. That's Will Bruin in the corner. He cannot run it down. Goal kick to the Timbers. Meanwhile, the Houston Dynamo facing the San Jose Earthquakes and their former head coach Dominic Kinnear on Tuesday morning. Like that Wednesday morning, a 3-2 win. 3 goals. Rookie Rob Lovejoy, Giles Barnes, and David Horst. Adam Larson Quirasi, 27-year-old, born in Oslo, Norway. And a Ghanaian national team goalkeeper. He started for Ghana against the United States. And a 2-1 victory for the Americans at the World Cup last June. Dynamo captain Brad Davis, now in his 14th Major League Soccer season. It's his 10th season with the Dynamo, and with the retirement of Gonzalo Segares, he is now the longest tenured active player in MLS with one team. 1 year more than teammate Corey Ash, who is entering his 9th season with the Dynamo, and the threesome in Real Salt Lake, Beckerman, Morales, and Raimondo. 2 minutes gone, scoreless from Tucson. Quirasi will get his field players forward. A few big names missing from both teams. Of course, Diego Valeri and Will Johnson recovering from significant injuries suffered last season. And the Dynamo missing a few internationals. As Ricardo Clark gets forward, thought Barnes would come back for it, and Paparazzo cleaned it up for Portland. As the Timbers gain a free kick, Zach Steinberg fouling Ben Zemansky. Will Johnson broke his leg against Toronto FC late September. He's hoping to train in 4 to 6 weeks. Diego Valeri tore his left ACL on the season's final day against FC Dallas. And he hopes to be back come May. There's Dynamo goalkeeper Tyler Derrick. Should be a festive battle for the #1 goalkeeping job. He and Joe Willis fighting for that position, with third-string goalkeeper Michael Lish competing for time as well. Here's Steinberger, a bit anxious here early on, too far in front of Brad Davis, and it's a Timbers throw-in. 4th minute from Tucson, scoreless. A Dynamo and Timbers. They met here last year in the preseason. 2 late goals. Gaston Fernandez, Max Arudi gave the Timbers a 2-0 win. Here's Bruin. Wide, Lionel Miranda just joined the club from Independiente in Argentina. And Paparazzo, another Argentine there to clean it up for Portland. Steinberger out wide left. Davis here against Alvis Powell. Veteran against the youngster, and Powell did very well. And now he's trying to hold off Davis, and our referee, Jurasevic, calls Brad Davis for the foul. Davis retains the captain's armband, no real surprise, but new coach Owen Coyle in his first year at the helm. Here's Powell. Reported interest from Palermo and Serie A and Getafe in Spain last offseason, but Portland rewarded Powell with a new long-term contract. One of the fastest players in the league, Alvis Powell. Here's DeMarcus Beasley against Nagbe. Beasley back to Jermaine Taylor. And it stays in play on this near side. Powell, forward Nagbe. Chara away from Steinberger, and Steinberger called for a foul on Diego Chara. Chara, of course, a long-time Timber. Entering his 5th season with the club. Their first DP signed in April 2011. Adi, wide left. Service from the flank, and it's a corner kick to Portland. That was left back Jorge Villafana getting forward. Good combination play with Adi. And now it's Gaston Fernandez. 31-year-old out of a River Plate academy. Had a nice debut season. 7 goals, a couple assists, and only 17 starts. Had 2 vital equalizers early on for Portland his first 2 games. Service from Fernandez, chested down by Davis. Nagbe runs it down ahead of Clark, and then Fernandez slips on the far side. Clark trying to run the break, has Steinberger to his left, picks out Lionel Miranda, the 21-year-old Argentine, joined the club just a few weeks ago. Wide to Clark, and Chara clears the danger. DeMarcus Beasley announced his retirement from the U.S. men's national team in December. One of the most decorated players in American history. 4 World Cups, of course. At least 1 appearance, 14 consecutive seasons. And now Miranda gets caught with it. Rodney Wall is streaking down the left side, and Raul Rodriguez watches it out. Rodriguez and Miranda joined within the same week. Rodriguez from Espanyol in Spain, 4.5 years with the Barcelona club. Still coming at a young age to MLS, relatively young, 27 years of age. There's Paparazzo, back to Fernandez. Service from Fernandez, and it's Beasley to run it down. Speaking to Raul Rodriguez yesterday, he was surprised to learn only 5 Spanish players in MLS this year. Beasley, long throw into Clark. Some pressure from Wallace. Clark lost it to Zemansky. And now here's Fernandez. 8th minute from Tucson, a scoreless game. The Houston Dynamo in orange, Portland Timbers in green. These teams will meet 3 times this regular season as the Dynamo shift back to the Western Conference for the first time since 2010. Given away by Paparazzo. Rodriguez for Miranda. Now it's Barnes wide left to Beasley. Beasley trying to find Brad Davis. Good defending Alvis Powell. Chara. Fernandez. Good pressure from Taylor to slow down a possible counter. And now Beasley walking the sideline. Barnes lays it off Davis. Bruin, the lone target. Davis, good early service, but a bit beyond Bruin. And Miranda arriving late to get there ahead of Jorge Villafana. Here's Sarkoty. Miranda with the service, blocked by Villafana. Barnes tries to help it on. Bruin with the chance, and he pulls it wide. So the Dynamo made something out of nothing there. Barnes, a clever flick right in the path of Will Bruin, but Bruin could not test the Portland goalkeeper, Adam Larson Huarasi. 23 caps for Ghana. His dad Ghanaian, his mom Norwegian. Rumored interest from Celtic in Scotland last June, but the Timbers brought him on board in December. Here's Rodriguez at the back. Wore the captain's armband at times for Espanyol in Spain, and a definite leader already in Houston, especially among the Latin contingent. He's certainly taking Lionel Miranda under his wing, the young 21-year-old Argentine. Nat Borchers. Fernandez left it, was expecting not to be behind it, but the Dynamo gained possession. Now it comes off the heels of Miranda, a chance here. Fernando Adi running at Rodriguez. Steinberger back to help, and a foul call. Dangerous free kick forthcoming for Portland. Adi took advantage of the fortuitous bounce for the Timbers, ran right at the back line. Rodriguez backpedaling, and Steinberger tripped up Adi. A lot of options here. Gaston Fernandez, Rodney Wallace. Dynamo will set this wall. This will come about 20 yards out. Tyler Derrick, Dynamo goalkeeper, dictating his wall. Who will it be, Wallace or Fernandez? Wallace leaves it. Fernandez over the wall and over the bar for a goal kick. Fernandez well-traveled. Monterrey in Mexico, San Lorenzo in Argentina, Tigres in Mexico, and Estudiantes in Argentina before he joined Portland before last season. The Timbers talked openly about Fernandez this offseason. They said no guarantee he'd come back, but they talked other options. But they liked his experience and his big role last year, and they knew what they would get from him. Goal kick from Derrick. It's out for a Timbers throw-in. Porter talked about that this offseason, basically saying the grass isn't always greener, and sometimes you can tweak too much. He's admitted to mistakes he's made and lessons learned in his first 2 years at the helm, and now excited for the core group in Portland here in year 3. Ben Zemansky, of course, played for Porter at Akron. Now Borchers, good ball wide right. Alvis Powell, 1v1 with Beasley. Powell for Nagby. Steinberger, some contact. Derrick comes off his line, and it's out for a goal kick. Well, Steinberger walking a fine line there, going hip to hip with Darlington Nagby. Nagby drew the second most fouls in the league last year. Steinberger, a rookie out of Butler University, number 8 overall pick. First selection in this year's draft by the Dynamo. Well-traveled Steinberger. Grew up in Orange County, was a LA Galaxy season ticket holder. Went to the IMG Academy in Florida before heading to Middlesbrough in England and playing with their youth side. But visa and passport issues forced him to go to Slovakia and then Germany, where he played with the Karlsruhe U19s before eventually heading back to the States to go to college at Butler. Miranda tripped up middle of the field. Jurasevic awards a free kick to the Dynamo. It was Zemansky who got him, but Zemansky did not like the call. Steinberger, after he was drafted, talked about the opportunity to play with Nemanja Matic, the Chelsea defender, at Košice in Slovakia. A great experience, although he never found a team in Germany, Slovakia, or England, partly due to passport issues. It was a good experience. The offside flag went up. Portland restarts. It's Villafana on the far side against Miranda. 14th minute from Tucson. Houston Dynamo nothing, Portland Timbers nothing. It's cooled down somewhat, but spectacular weather all week here in the desert. Blue skies, low 80s the last few days. Ideal conditions for the teams here. Beasley draws the foul on Alvis Powell. Clark back to Steinberger, given away. Rodney Wallace read it real well, but then Steinberger wins it back. Now Miranda combining with Sarkody on the right side. Here's Barnes. Back to Sarkody. Playing against his former college coach, Caleb Porter. Sarkody, 3 years at Akron, won a national championship. And now Norberto Paparatto. Another Argentine. Was the starter at the outset of last season. Eventually lost his spot, but gained it back at the end and started 4 of the final 5 games. Or 3 of the final 4. Missed the final game due to yellow card accumulation. Beasley wanted a call on Adi. Nagbe lost it. It's a Houston throw-in. These two teams took different approaches to their first game in the desert. Portland unchanged in their starting 11 from last Saturday's 2-0 win against Kansas City. Meanwhile, Owen Coyle used a mixed lineup on Wednesday in Houston's 3-2 win over San Jose, using several projected starters in each half and mixing them with newcomers. Miranda towards the corner. Good defending by Chara, but Miranda escapes his defending and draws a foul. Good work from Lionel Miranda. Nicknamed Lolo. Grew up in Buenos Aires and 2.5 years with Independiente, one of Argentina's Big Five clubs. They've won a record 7 Copa Libertadores titles. Free kick for the Dynamo. They had a light session this morning where they went over some set pieces. Now Brad Davis will take this one. Rodriguez, Bruin, Clark, and Taylor the targets in the middle with Barnes on the backside. Here comes Barnes. It's to Barnes, and he mishit it, and it scuffs wide. Great chance for Barnes from about 12 yards out, as Davis put it right there for the reigning Dynamo Golden Boot winner. Giles Barnes wore number 23 his first 2.5 seasons in Houston, given the number 10 shirt this year. A great year last year. Dynamo MVP, Players Player of the Year, Golden Boot winner, and the Iron Man of the Year. He set a Dynamo club record. He played all but 32 of last season's regular season minutes, supplanting the previous record held by Jeff Cameron. Here's Miranda. He runs it down against Chara. Good work from Chara to win it back. It's a Timbers throw-in. 17th minute. Portland nothing, Houston nothing. Wallace. Villafaña. Lost by Nagbe. Good work by Clark and Barnes there in the middle. And then Bruin runs into Paparatto on the other end. Clark catching his breath as Juricevic blows the whistle, and a moment for both teams to catch their breath here early on. In the regular season, the Dynamo will host Portland at BBVA Compass Stadium May 16th. Dynamo will visit Providence Park June 20th, and then return to Portland August 21st. So 3 meetings this year. A stacked Western Conference with the Dynamo and Sporting Kansas City joining a perennial powers in the Western Conference. Of course, the shifts necessitated by Orlando City and New York City FC joining the Eastern Conference for the 2015 season. Adi draws a foul on Taylor. Free kick, Portland. They're in the 19th minute, a scoreless game. Beasley back for Taylor. The Jamaican forward towards Bruin. Borchers went to the header. Steinberger settles it. Lost it. Slows down Wallace's progress, but Adi back to Rodney Wallace. In the corner, the Costa Rican. Good service from Wallace and a good clearing header from Raul Rodriguez, sandwiched between Adi and Fernandez, and the Spaniard Rodriguez won the header. Clark out Barnes. Paparazzo clears the danger for Portland and settled at the back by Rodriguez. Nat Borchers traded to Portland in the offseason, was told he had a choice on where he could go as he would be left unprotected in the expansion drafts, and chose Portland. He said they can win right now. Brad Davis showing a yellow card as he takes down Alvis Powell. Our first booking of the night comes here in the 20th minute. Alvis Powell, so much potential, already 17 caps for the Jamaica national team, and he's only 20. He captained the Jamaica U20s at the 2013 CONCACAF U20 Championships. Was a track and field prospect as a youngster in Jamaica. Fernandez with the service towards the back post. Rodriguez, enough on the header. Now Rodney Wallace, shook, and a header goes wide from Adi. Rodriguez bit on Wallace's fake, giving the Costa Rican time to serve, and Fernando Adi, a big presence up front, but he couldn't test Tyler Derrick. '21st minute, Houston nothing, Portland nothing. Tyler Derrick, first homegrown signing in Dynamo history. Local kid, Spring, Texas, Klein High School in Houston. There's Alvis Powell. Fought with Jack Jewsbury for the starting job last year, eventually got it towards the end of the season. Adi pulls it just wide of the near post. He's been a handful here early on. .6'4", 185 pounds for the 24-year-old Nigerian. Arrived on what was a loan last May, but got off to such a good start. He signed a designated player contract a month later as he scored 2 goals in his first 2 MLS starts. Wallace strong in the air over Sarkodie for the header. Rodriguez back to Derrick. Fernandez applies pressure. And now Beasley against Nagbe. Ben Zemanski, a big opportunity for him early in this season, the presumed starter in place of Will Johnson as he comes back from his broken leg. Villafana against Miranda. Good defending by Miranda on the far side. And now Rodriguez forward. We mentioned the injuries to Portland, Valeri and Will Johnson, 2 of the most important players in the Portland midfield, as the Dynamo draw a foul. A Dynamo missing both Hondurans tonight. Garrido still with the Honduran national team. And Boniek Garcia with the team here in Tucson, but he is sick, so he's missing tonight's action. Boniek, the captain for Honduras on Wednesday, first time in his 95 appearances for Los Catrachos that he wore the captain's armband. A 3-2 loss to Venezuela for Honduras. Garrido also started that game. Offside flag comes up on the far side. Sarkodie in behind Villafana, and Portland will restart. A good crowd on hand here at Keno Sports Complex. These games aren't as promoted as the forthcoming games, the Desert Diamond Cup. But on this near side grandstand, every bleacher seat is taken. Here's Miranda. A bit heavy on the service, and it rolls out for a goal kick. Adam Larson Quirassi, a 2013 Norwegian League Goalkeeper of the Year. He helped Strømsgodset win the title for the first time since 1970. And was the captain of that team as well. In between Beasley and Davis, Davis settles. And now Taylor back for Derek. 25th minute, Houston nothing, the Timbers nothing. Gaston Fernandez, known as El Gato. Good ball wide right. Alvis Powell against Beasley, and Beasley times it just right for a Timbers throw-in. Powell alertly throws it in. Adi back to Nagby. Davis with some contact on Nagby. And Jurisevic lets it go. Second time Nagby's gone down around the area. The first time around the 6-yard box on a challenge from Steinberger. Steinberger. You see him adjusting to the speed of play in MLS, and there you see him rushing a bit in front of Beasley. Steinberger telling Beasley to push forward, and Beasley a few more years on him, saying, play me right here. Beasley, of course, joined the Dynamo last July after the World Cup, played in 10 games before injury saw him miss the last 2 games. Paparazzo, not the best clearance, falls to Barnes. Barnes knocked over as Zemansky tried to track back. Free kick to Houston. Paparazzo, part of what many people are expecting is a 3-man fight for 2 position. Liam Ridgewell, designated player, on loan with Wigan right now. Should be back mid-February. Of course, Nat Borchers has been one of the most consistent center backs in MLS the last few years with Real Salt Lake. And then you have Paparazzo, who had a good finish to last year's season. So those 3 will be jockeying for 2 spots, many would think. Brad Davis set for the free kick, 2-man wall for Portland. Davis delivers, and Taylor's header cleared by Villafana. Clark helps it on. Miranda, bouncing effort. The flag stayed down, but well read by Quirassi. 2 set-piece goals by the Dynamo in Wednesday's 3-2 win against San Jose. The first, a curling effort from Giles Barnes just on the edge of the area. And then in the second half, a Brad Davis corner kick headed home about 6 yards out by David Horst. 28th minute, Houston nothing, Portland nothing. Some wind has come here in Tucson after the sun has set. It's blowing in the direction of the goal the Timbers are attacking. So the Dynamo slightly going into the wind here in the first half. Bruin, tracked by Borchers. Trying to find Miranda, too far in front. Fernandez wins it for Portland. Now Rodney Wallace on this right side. Good work to find Adi, who stayed on side. Dynamo tracking back. Adi forward, just a bit heavy as he sought out Nagby. One of the big questions for Portland heading into this season is who will replace Diego Valeri and how will he be replaced? Tonight, Gaston Fernandez, but more in a 4-4-2 formation with Fernandez as more of a forward than the traditional number 10 Valeri will play. Could be how Caleb Porter lines it up on March 7th, a regular season opener at home against Salt Lake. Beasley lost out to Powell. Powell forward, one of his long marauding runs, but in the end lost his footing, and he runs into another Jamaican, Jermaine Taylor. Powell, known for that, he's got such a long stride, and now he knocks over Brad Davis, and a free kick to Houston. But Powell not afraid to get forward. So much promise. A Jamaica international. Escapes a yellow card there. Powell started 8 of the last 9 games of the season and named Timbers' up-and-coming player for the 2nd straight year. He also started all 4 games in the fall as the Timbers won the Caribbean Cup. Lionel Miranda will deliver. Good ball, dangerous, just past Clark, and Borchers heads it wide right. Chara keeps it in, and now Fernandez back towards Chara. It's a Portland throw-in. Powell played with Portmore United in Jamaica. Joined the Timbers on loan June 2013. And the Timbers completed the full purchase over the winter. 31st minute, Portland Timbers nothing, Houston Dynamo nothing. Matt Peterson with you here at Keno Sports Complex. Delighted to be here at the Desert Friendlies, 3rd consecutive year for both teams here in Tucson. A great place for the clubs and a great place for fans. If you're considering a trip for future years, I'd highly recommend it. Spectacular weather, friendly staff, and they do a great job to keep the fields in good shape. 5 teams here in Tucson at present, in addition to Houston and Portland, Kansas City, Vancouver, and San Jose. The Whitecaps and Earthquakes played before this game, a 1-1 tie. New England was here for a bit, and that will end our first period. We're going to play 3 30-minute periods. It is preseason, so the coaches decide if they want to go 2 45-minute halves or 3 30-minute periods. It makes substituting easier, as some of the coaches like to have their players go 60 minutes. No real clear-cut scoring chances early on. Some half chances for Portland. Dynamo have probably been most dangerous on set pieces here early on, but a chance to regroup as the teams take a short break. The plan for Portland is to have this group go about 60 minutes and have a completely different group play the final 30 minutes. He was very specific in his plans, talking to media yesterday. Those that play 30 minutes tonight are scheduled to play all 60 minutes on Tuesday against San Jose, as the Timbers round out their time in the desert. A 9:30 a.m. kickoff on Tuesday against the Earthquakes. And he said 8 to 9 of the starters tonight will not play in that game. They'll get some fitness. And some players who haven't played in all 3 of the games will play the final 30 minutes on Tuesday. Owen Coyle in the Dynamo, his plan tonight is to give this starting 11 somewhere between 45 and 60 minutes, and to bring on probably between 8 and 11 new players to the final 30 minutes or so. Coyle talking to his team, Caleb Porter talking to his. Coyle trying to get the Dynamo back to the postseason. 39 points, 8th place in the Eastern Conference last year. They missed the playoffs the first time since 2010, second time in 9 years in franchise history. Of course, Caleb Porter in his first year, the MLS Coach of the Year, 57 points in 2013, first place in the Western Conference in the regular season, before falling to Real Salt Lake in the Western Conference final. But a sweet first playoff series. The Timbers beat their fiercest rivals, the Sounders. Last year, a slow start and a strong finish, but the Timbers finished 1 point behind Vancouver for the final playoff spot in the Western Conference. The Dynamo will stay here in Tucson. They place Vancouver Whitecaps FC, 11 a.m. Central Time. The game will not be streamed. Some of the games are just not feasible to stream given the location of the fields. But after that, the Dynamo come home to Houston for about a week and a half. They'll take on the Dynamo Academy U18s, currently in first place in the Central Conference Frontier Division on February 14th. And then they'll meet Paul Dalgleish and the USL Pros Austin Aztecs on February 18th. The Aztecs going up from PDL to USL Pro, and former Dynamo MLS Cup winner Paul Dalgleish, the new head coach after spending a part of last year with Real Salt Lake. Dynamo will go to Charleston for the final 3 games of their preseason. Face the Battery, the host team, on the 21st. New York City FC on the 25th. Orlando City SC on the 28th. Third straight year, 6th year overall, the Dynamo will be in South Carolina. And the Dynamo open up a 2015 season at home March 7th against the Columbus Crew. Caleb Porter talked about having fewer games this preseason, 1 less than last year. After tonight's game, the Timbers will play here in Tucson against the San Jose Earthquakes, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Then they come home for the Simple Invitational, February 22nd, at home against Vancouver at 5 p.m. at Providence Park. 3 days later, the 25th, Timbers host the Chicago Fire, and then that game's at 7:30. Finally, February 28th, Timbers close the Simple Invitational with a friendly match against Stabayek. Both teams open the season at home. The Timbers against Real Salt Lake. A great rivalry in the Western Conference as the Timbers enter their 5th season in MLS. The teams will shift sides of the field. Dynamo towards the north side. They'll have the wind at their backs for this second 30-minute stanza. And the Timbers will deal with a bit of wind. Not a big factor, the wind, but just enough to mention. The Timbers will get the second period underway. Adi next to Fernandez. Adi, 4 2-goal games last year with Portland. So 8 of his 9 goals came in those 4 multi-goal games. Back underway from Tucson. We'll call it the 31st minute after these teams played a scoreless first half hour. Borchers. Good composure at the back. The man with the big beard, now 33. But he's been rock solid for Real Salt Lake, and the Timbers hoping to have a nice first season from a former Real Salt Lake player, as they got from Will Johnson a couple years ago when he made a best 11 team. Paparazzo at the back. Good switch of feel for Alvis Powell, the 20-year-old Jamaican. Chara, one touch Nagbe. Nagbe has Fernandez. Adi, flag stays down. Derek to clear, and what a clearing header. Kofi Sarkodie, as Dynamo fans have come to love, may have saved a goal there. But meanwhile, behind the play, Tyler Derrick is down in some pain. The players asking Theron Enns, the athletic trainer, to come on out. Fernando Adi was in. Derrick came off his line. At the edge of his area, there may have been some contact. Adi's goal-bound effort cleared off the line, a saving header from Sarkodie. Derek, a backup to Pat Onstad, and then Tyler Tally Hall for 5.5 years. Started the last 9 games of last season after Tally Hall tore his ACL. Hall traded to Orlando City in the offseason. So the door is open for Derek to keep that number 1 starting job. But Joe Willis, acquired from DC United in the offseason. Similar age, similar MLS experience. He's been behind Bill Hamid at DC United for several years. And Willis will mount a stern challenge to Derek. Good news, Derek looks to be okay. After a word with Theron Ends, Derek back on his feet. Rodney Wallace set to throw it in towards Adi. 2 Dynamo there to defend. Rodriguez and Steinberger. It's out for a goal kick. Ten new players for the Dynamo this year, but much of the core from previous seasons is back. One of the notable exceptions, Tally Hall, as we said, traded to Orlando. But many of the core from last season back, including Bruin, Barnes, Davis, Garrido, Boniek Garcia, Sarkoty, Clark, Taylor, Ash, and Derek. Barnes in the corner against Borchers. Beasley, good composure, finds Clark, and Clark gives it away, playing it behind Steinberger, who runs it down. Sarkoty wide right, Lionel Miranda. A few players losing their footing in that spot. Davis, good challenge on Chara. Davis wide, Barnes against Nat Borchers. Davis keeps it alive. Now Clark. It stays alive for Sarkoty. Sarkoty in, and a nice save. Larson Kwarase, the 27-year-old Ghanaian Norwegian, stayed big and challenged Sarkoty. Sarkoty managed to stay onside. One of the first real threats on goal from the Dynamo here in the first 35 minutes. Well, now we'll see our first sub. I know Giles Barnes, in training this week, stayed out of Thursday's training just to some sore legs, and now he departs after 35 minutes. May have been the plan all along, but Rob Lovejoy comes in for Barnes. Lovejoy, a great start to his first professional preseason. Selected in the second round, number 35 overall out of University of North Carolina. And Greensboro, North Carolina native, scored 13 minutes into his preseason debut. That was Wednesday morning against San Jose, a calm finish against David Bingham. So Lovejoy in for Barnes. And we'll see if Bruin goes as the lone forward up front. Lovejoy more of a winger than an out-and-out forward. Good work from Powell, trying to find Wallace, and no problem for Davis. And there you see Alvis Powell, the right back for Portland, getting all the way down to the far end line, wreaking havoc against the Dynamo on that left side. 36th minute, Houston nothing, Portland nothing. We mentioned 10 new players for the Dynamo. A few of them on the field right now. We've talked about Rodriguez and Miranda. Steinberger, the first-round pick. Lovejoy, one of 2 second-round picks. Omar Ballo, who took UMBC to the Final Four this year. He has not featured in these 2 games. We could see him in the second half. Kubo Torres, the biggest name signing in MLS circles. He is still with Chivas Guadalajara on loan, but he'll be introduced to the Dynamo fans tomorrow at BBVA Compass Stadium at 4 p.m. Sarkoty, back Rodriguez. And a few MLS players the Dynamo acquired in their retooling offseason. Chandler Hoffman, who scored 14 goals with LA Galaxy 2 last year. Nathan Sturgis, 10-year MLS veteran, back for his second stint with the Dynamo this year. Here's Gaston Fernandez against Rodriguez. Great save, Derek. And the Dynamo goalkeeper dives to his left to palm it out. That was Fernandez slipping by Rodriguez. Probably thought he'd scored, but Derek kept him out. Now a bad turnover, Taylor. Chara tries to take advantage. Now it's Rodney Wallace trying from 25 yards, blocked by Rodriguez. Steinberger, wide right, Davis now on this side. Cuts past Villafana, good ball towards the corner. Bruin's onside. Paparazzo giving chase. Will Bruin has two runners. Bruin cut it to his left. And then good help from Ben Zemansky, who dropped back into a center back position there. Davis, who has played mostly at left mid for his entire Dynamo career, now on this right side, with Rob Lovejoy shifting on the left since he came on for Giles Barnes. And Davis might be pinching in more to a central position with Miranda to his right. We'll see how it plays out. Bad clearance, Adam Larson, Quirassi. Houston with the throw-in, Davis working with Miranda. Davis, good ball, served in. And a late charging Lovejoy couldn't put it on target from a tough angle. Powell did pretty well tracking Rob Lovejoy. So Lovejoy fighting for a spot on the team. He among 4 Dynamo draft picks. Steinberger signed with the league the morning of the drafts. Umar Ballo, Taylor Hunter, and Lovejoy the rest of the Dynamo draft class. '40th minute from Tucson, no score. 3 30-minute periods is the plan. Just one change so far. Rob Lovejoy coming on for Giles Barnes around the 35th minute. Borchers, MLS Best 11 selection in 2010. Helped Salt Lake win the 09 MLS Cup. Sarkoty, dangerous header to the middle of the field, but Taylor did pretty well. Now Davis leaves it for Miranda. Miranda, dangerous back heel, middle of the field, picked up by Rodney Wallace. His plan was to make it to Davis, didn't get there, and now Lovejoy tracks back and knocks over Nagbe. Nagbe playing quickly. Fernandez back to Nagbe, 25 yards from goal for Adi, and Sarkoty got low for a hip challenge. Adi thought he was fouled, asking for a penalty. Edvin Juricevic says play on. Adi, the last 2 seasons before his move to Portland last May, he was with FC Copenhagen, one of the Danish powers, played in 3 UEFA Champions League games. Also some time in Slovakia as well. Derek set for the goal kick, 41st minute. Houston nothing, Portland nothing. Paparazzo, strong header against Bruin. Beasley, pressured by Nagbe. Good work from Bees. Lovejoy with Steinberger. And now it's Lovejoy trying to catch Quirassi off his line. Ambitious effort from the rookie. And he wasn't too far off the mark. Quirassi off his line a bit, probably 12 yards out. Lovejoy settled the ball, picked up his head, and tried an effort from about 45 yards out. Not a bad idea, and I'm sure Owen Coyle, a former forward who scored 297 goals in his career, had no problem with the effort. Quirassi puts it back in play. Adi wins the header. Miranda settles. Clark. Szymanski defending, and it's out wide to Beasley. Beasley knocked over by Nagbe. Free kick Houston. Steinberger elects to take it quickly, but rushed it and played it right to Alvis Powell. And Beasley down behind the play as Juricevic blows the whistle. Looks like Nathan Sturgis takes off his warm-up jacket. He might be coming on shortly, getting some instructions from Coyle. Beasley hurt his hamstring against DC United in a game that officially eliminated the Dynamo from playoff contention last year. Missed the final 2 games, including his potential homecoming back to Chicago. But healthy again here in this preseason. And Zach Steinberger is going to make way for Nathan Sturgis. So Steinberger, who played 59 minutes on Wednesday against San Jose, goes about 43 minutes here tonight, and Sturgis back in play.
Number 6, Nathan Sturgis.
Second change of the night. Sturgis joins Lovejoy as the first 2 substitutes. Borchers. Fernandez draws a foul. Free kick to Portland. A good traveling contingent for the Portland Timbers. I would estimate at least 60 or 70 standing to my left here at the Keno Sports Complex. Good challenge, Taylor on Fernandez. It goes off the referee, Juricevic, and now Davis. Good first touch by Lovejoy. Lovejoy trying to find Bruin, but well read by Borchers. Known for his positioning and anticipation, you saw it there. Free kick Portland. Diego Chara, a Colombian. Such a great engine in that Timbers midfield. Adi tried to pull it wide for Wallace. Now Lovejoy runs it down. He tries a back heel for Beasley, who may not have been expecting it. And it's a Timbers throw-in. Szymanski with a long switch. Paparazzo. Back for Quarasi. A lot of battles tonight between Alvis Powell and DeMarcus Beasley. Now Nagbe, wide left. Rodney Wallace against Sarkoti. Wallace on his preferred left foot. Towards the top of the box. Nobody there for Portland. And Lovejoy away. And now Paparazzo called for a foul on Bruin. Bruin grabbing the left side of his forehead. Will Bruin, 6'2". Paparazzo listed at 6'3".
Whether you're working or playing, use your head and your eyes. For more safety tips, visit TEP.com.
47th minute from Tucson. The Dynamo nothing. The Portland Timbers nothing. Beasley. Nathan Sturgis. Wallace wins it for Portland. Nagbe trying to break. Has Villafana pushing forward to his left. Nagbe does well to slow down Chara's progress. Now Zemansky. Fernandez. Bruin into a sliding challenge against Paparazzo. Clark away. Now a chance for Houston. Miranda has Bruin to his left. Lionel Miranda against Borchers. And Miranda, what a goal! He beats Guarassi at the near post. And the Dynamo jump in front here in the 48th minute. Miranda, his first goal with the Dynamo, took advantage of the 2v1 situation. Guarassi couldn't fully commit to the near post with Bruin open around the middle of the penalty area, and Miranda just cracked it to Guarassi's left, and it's 1-0 Houston. Against the run of play, Portland with more of the attacking options and opportunities here in the first 48 minutes, but the Dynamo jump in front 1-0. Lionel Miranda. Good counter-attacking goal from the Dynamo. They won the ball in midfield. Clark pushed it forward in front of Bruin and Miranda just did it very well. No chance for Guarassi, the Portland goalkeeper. Now Sarkozy whistle for a foul. And a fourth different goal scorer for the Dynamo this preseason, as Miranda joins Lovejoy, Giles, Barnes, and David Horst. Gaston Fernandez to take it. Good strong header from Jermaine Taylor right around the penalty spot. Sturgis clears to midfield. Miranda will apply pressure. Rodriguez battling Rodney Wallace, but the offside flag goes up on the far side. Lionel Miranda, a versatile player. He can play left mid, right mid, or as a second striker. Given away at the back by the Dynamo. Chance here for Portland. Gaston Fernandez for Rodney Wallace. And a good deflection by Rodriguez, did just enough to deflect the cross, and a sure-handed save by Derek. A mistake at the back by the Dynamo as they restarted off that offside. Borchers, calm header, back to Adam Larson, Guarassi. Here's Chara. Lovejoy against Alvis Powell. Now Nagbe against Clark. Nagbe's so good with the ball at his feet. To an overlapping Alvis Powell. Powell. Rodney Wallace. Good defending from Houston there. Clark, Beasley, and Lovejoy applying pressure. Now Chara. Jorge Villafana with Gaston Fernandez. That's well worked, but Rodriguez, very calm, collected, gets in front of Villafana, watches out for a goal kick. 4.5 years with Espanyol in Spain, 80 first-team appearances. His most active season, the 2011-12 season, 28 starts for Raul Rodriguez. When he signed with Houston, he called it a great challenge for his career, and he said he's excited to be part of this project. Among the first signings by new Dynamo general manager Matt Jordan. His first week on the job, went to Spain and scouted Rodriguez, and he was in Houston within a few months. Davis. Back to Sarkody. It's Dynamo 1, Timbers nothing, 52nd minute from Tucson, Arizona. Matt Peterson with you here. As teams push forward towards the 2015 season. Opening day 26 days away. Borchers, pressured by Bruin. Back to Larson Quarasi. And now it's Adi against Taylor. Taylor entering his 5th year with the Dynamo, versatile defender. Can play all 3 positions across the back line. Most common plays center back, but often plays left back for Jamaica. Now it's Miranda with Clark. Clark targeting Lovejoy. And Lovejoy nearly kept that in. It was a good touch, but the far side referee gives the throw into Portland. Jorge Villafana. Ben Zemansky. Villafana, born in Anaheim, spent time in Mexico as a child before returning to Anaheim for high school. Here's Wallace with Rodriguez. Bruin battling Paparazzo. Bruin did pretty well trying to find Miranda. Now Bruin saying it was kicked out by Paparazzo. Chance here for Portland. Gaston Fernandez, Derek off his line, does well. Now it's Rodney Wallace with an empty net. But he couldn't find the net or Nagby. Derek very active second 30 minutes here. Went far to his left a moment ago. And then comes far to his right, fearless against Fernando Adi. Now it's El Gato trying his luck against Derek, and it's a goal kick to Houston. Here we have the 3rd substitution for Owen Coyle in the Dynamo. Jason Johnson will come on for Will Bruin. So Bruin goes 55 minutes. He went about 59 on Wednesday against San Jose. And Johnson enters here in the 55th minute. Johnson came on late, one of 3 subs. On Wednesday against San Jose. Now he gets his 2nd preseason game. On loan a lot of last year with Pittsburgh. Now in his 3rd MLS season. Strong tackle that time from behind by Paparazzo. Johnson did not like it, goes face to face. A hand up around the shoulder in face of Paparazzo. So Johnson into the game for less than a minute and took a strong challenge from Paparazzo. Looked to be studs up. May have been 2-footed. And a big decision for Edvin Juricevic. It's a yellow card to Norberto Paparazzo. And then a red card shown to Jason Johnson. So 1 minute into his substitute appearance, Johnson sent off as Juricevic must have concluded that it was a punch, a swipe, or a hand to the face. Johnson definitely reacted, went face to face with Norberto Paparazzo and put a hand up around the shoulder. So the Dynamo down to 10 men for the final 35 minutes. It looked to be more of a forearm and elbow from Johnson, more of a forearm push than any sort of swipe.
For Portland, a yellow card to number 23, Norberto Paparazzo. And for Houston, a red card for number 14, Jason Johnson.
So now the first instance of game management for Owen Coyle. and his Houston Dynamo as they have a 1-0 lead, albeit in the preseason, but now playing 10 versus 11 for 35 minutes. Free kick, Houston. Davis takes it, and no problem, Adam Larson-Quirasi. It's a bit harsh for Jason Johnson, in my opinion. He may have expected Paparazzo to come over with some sort of apology or condolences, and he might have been brushing it off with the left arm, but the elbow was sort of close to the face, so I could see where Juricevic made the decision, but I think difficult because it was a rash challenge in the first place by Paparazzo. So Johnson, perhaps a lesson learned. Within a minute of coming on, he's sent off, a straight red card after some contact with Paparazzo after his strong challenge. There isn't much gray area for a hand or a fist to the face. This was more of an arm. I think, unfortunately for Johnson, though, the part that got Paparazzo up around the face was the elbow. It wasn't really extended or thrown. It was more of a forearm trying to move Paparazzo aside, but the elbow came up around the cheek. So Houston down a man, up a goal, 59th minute. And Johnson had come on as a replacement for Bruin at forward, so the Dynamo, no real out-and-out forwards on the field. Lionel Miranda can play as a second striker, as we said. He might be the furthest upfield for the remainder of this game, but Houston probably set to make some substitutions here in the next few minutes. A front five for the Dynamo at the moment. Lovejoy, Clark, Sturgis, Davis, and Miranda for Houston. Beasley set for the throw-in. 121 caps for the U.S. national team before retiring in December. Paparazzo working with Borchers. Chara. Well read by Rodriguez. He stepped in front of Adi and wins possession for Houston. Now Clark with Lovejoy. Good ball, Clark. Finds Miranda. Now Sturgis. Excellent ball, Sarkoti. Lovejoy, the lone runner. Sturgis arriving late. Here's Miranda towards the end line. Miranda chipped back across, targeting Lovejoy, but Borcher's in a good spot to clear. Now Davis, acrobatic, to find Sarkoti. Sturgis wanted Sarkoti to return and continue forward, but Sarkoti not on the same page, and Portland will see it to midfield as the second 30-minute period comes to an end. Again, 3 30-minute periods here in Tucson. A Dynamo score the game's first goal. Lionel Miranda, a real well-taken strike, but Jason Johnson sent off. So Houston will protect a 1-0 lead for the final 30 minutes of this game.
Blue ticket number 3, 5, 5, 8, 5, 6. 355-856 blue ticket. If you have the winning ticket, $90 is your take on tonight's 50-50. You can pick up your winnings at the Cystic Fibrosis tent. Also, we'd like to announce tonight's attendance. 1,421 of you soccer fans. All of tonight's MLS teams would like to thank you for your support and participation. Tonight's attendance, 1,421. the subject, Bud Light, the sure sign of a good time.
So Owen Coyle talking to the Dynamo. Caleb Porter allowing his group to get warmed up, expecting wholesale changes from the Timbers for this final 30-minute stanza. I'm sure Coyle may have had more plans, but with Giles Barnes exiting after about 35 minutes, the Jason Johnson red card, he may have to do things a little differently than he planned for the final 30 minutes.
Tucson Electric Towers, keeping you informed at home and on the go. With your smartphone, tablet, or computer, visit the and map on TEP.com for live updates about local.
We'll give you what we expect to be the new lineup for the Timbers. Andrew Weber comes in from goal, 31-year-old, entering his second season with the Timbers. A back four for Caleb Porter for this final 30 minutes. George Foshive, the 22-year-old, former Yukon Husky, third-round draft pick in 2014. He'll come in at right back. The center backs Taylor Pay and Danny O'Rourke. Pay a second-round pick in the 2014 draft by Portland. O'Rourke played with the Timbers last season. 12 games, 10 starts. He is out of contract, trying to win a contract, and apparently in contract discussions with the Timbers. Former Hermann Trophy winner, Danny O'Rourke, well-traveled in MLS. 10 years under his belt and exactly 200 games. The left back, Janderson, the Brazilian left back, 23-year-old, comes from Cruzeiro de Porto Alegre. Janderson, he played the second half against Kansas City on Tuesday. He's the left back for Porter in this final 30 minutes. A middle four for the Timbers, Dyron Asprilla. We're a live wire on the right side, 22-year-old Colombian from Alianza Petrolera, signed with the Timbers in December. Caleb Porter likes his directness. He is a handful for opposing defenses. He'll be out wide right. Jack Jewsbury and Nick Beasler will play in the center of the park here in this final 30 minutes. Jewsbury, 303 career games, 26th all-time on the MLS games list. Entering his 13th MLS season. He was the original Timbers captain when they went to MLS. Very versatile. He was center mid in his younger days, transitioned to right back. He'll play center mid here tonight. And he can be a nice leader and mentor for Nick Beasler, the 21-year-old, number 5 overall pick. Kansas native, went to Notre Dame, the younger brother of U.S. national team center back Matt Beasler. Beasler next to Jewsbury in Portland's center midfield. On the left, Michael Lanchoff, another former Akron player under Caleb Porter, 26-year-old, third year with the Timbers. And he scored against Kansas City last Saturday in the Timbers 2-0 win. Two up front. Maximiliano Urruti, the 23-year-old Argentine, had a nice season last year, 10 goals in 30 games, but only 12 starts. And next to him, Omar Cummings. Spent the last 2 seasons with the Dynamo, out of contract. He's on trial with the Timbers. He has the jersey without a number. So Cochran gets it forward. Now in the 61st minute, 3 30-minute periods was the plan all along here tonight. Make substituting easier and gives more time for instruction after each 30 minutes. So Urruti and Omar Cummings up front for the Portland Timbers. Now we'll get you the Dynamo lineup as time permits. Here's Janderson, the Brazilian left back. Now Jack Dewsbury, Captain Jack, as he was affectionately named by former Timbers head coach John Spencer. George Foshive spent time at Hawaii Pacific before transferring to UConn. Sturgis with Clark. Chandler Hoffman is one of the substitutes for the Dynamo. He's the lone striker right now. Good work from Lovejoy to cut inside on Foshive, but his effort is wide. So Lovejoy scored in his preseason debut Wednesday, had an ambitious effort from about 45 yards here tonight as he tried to catch a starting goalkeeper, Kwarasi, off his line. As we said, Weber now in goal for the Timbers. Some changes at the back for the Dynamo. All four are substitutes for this final 30 minutes. We'll get to them in a moment. Janderson getting forward. Max Urruti. Ash, good defending at the back post, heads it out. Picked up by Lovejoy, and Lovejoy taking no chance he gets it away as he draws a foul. So Lovejoy down right in front of the Dynamo bench. And a yellow card shown here. That's Dairon Espria, the 22-year-old Colombian. The Dynamo back line from right to left, Taylor Hunter, David Horst, A.J. Cochran, and Corey Ash.
Portland Timber yellow card to number 11, Dairon Espria.
Lovejoy receiving some treatment from Dynamo head athletic trainer Theron Enns. As we said in the first half, Ash entering his 9th season with the Dynamo. Tied for the second longest active tenure in MLS. He and the trio from Real Salt Lake, Kyle Beckerman, Javier Morales, Nick Raimondo, each entering their 9th season. And Dynamo captain entering his 10th longest tenured active player with one team in MLS. The old distinction was Gonzalo Segares with Chicago, but he announced his retirement just a few days ago. Here's Omar Cummings. 2 years at the Dynamo and 2 huge playoff goals in an upset victory against the New York Red Bulls Eastern Conference semifinals in 2013. One in extra time of the first leg, and then the series winner at Red Bull Arena that shocked the spectators and the Supporters Shield winning Red Bulls. Cummings, a trialist with Portland. He's been in camp here in Tucson a few days. And Caleb Porter, very specific, talking about Omar Cummings and the reason to bring him on trial. As he said, you didn't want to bring in as many trialists, have them in and out. They sort of disrupt camp at times. Can be a bit of a distraction, but he said, Omar is an experienced player, and it made sense for us to bring him in. Pay forward for the Timbers. 66th minute. Houston Dynamo 1, the Timbers nothing. Lionel Miranda, a wonderful goal as he caught the Timbers goalkeeper, Larson Kwarasi, cheating a bit to his right. Miranda 20-yard cracker. And they beat Quirassi at the near post. His first Dynamo goal comes in his second preseason game. Dynamo down a man, though. Jason Johnson shown a straight red card just moments after coming on. He took a very hard challenge from behind from Norberto Paparazzo, came up and had an arm to the face of Paparazzo. Joe Willis, the other change for the Dynamo. He played the second half, and now A.J. Cochran very strong against his former teammate Omar Cummings. Cochran shown a yellow card. So Cummings down on his back.
Houston Dynamo yellow card to number 16, J.J. Cochran. Correction, A.J.
Cummings back onto his feet. Very much blindsided that time, Omar Cummings. Trying to win an aerial challenge, and Cochran came over the top. So we have another change as Miranda, the goal scorer, exits and George Malky comes on. Malky drafted in the second round by Montreal Impact last year. Hurt his groin in training camp. Played part of last season with Phoenix FC and USL Pro. Malky, his first preseason game with Houston. He's on trial, trying to make the club. Grew up in this area, Scottsdale native. Just up the road a few hours. Went to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in the Big West. Shrewsbury, wide lefts, Nick Beasler. Cummings against Cochran. Less contact that time. And Taylor Hunter nearly caught in possession. Comes to Cummings, and Cummings has the equalizer. Omar Cummings against his former team. A calm finish to the left of Joe Willis. A mistake at the back by Taylor Hunter. Caught in possession. And it's 1-1 here in Tucson in the 69th minute. Cummings, 3 goals, 3 assists, 26 games last year. Of course, his big playoff heroics, 2013 against New York. And within 9 minutes of his Timbers trial, he scores the equalizer. 1-1 here from Keno Sports Complex. And the green smoke from Timbers Army here in Tucson. Some green, some yellow. Corey Ash. Taylor Pay at the back. Lovejoy away from Shrewsbury. And Lovejoy draws a foul. Juricevic was watching it the entire time. And Lovejoy, the rookie, taken down by the veteran Jack Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury, a teammate of Brad Davis of St. Louis University. 8 years in Kansas City before He was traded to Kansas City, went to Peter Vermees in preseason out of the 2011 season, and said he would be open to a trade if he... And Vermees obliged, sent him to Portland. He was named captain within a few weeks and has been one of the big faces of the Timbers the last 4 or 5 years. Sturgis with the set piece, targeting Horst at the back post, and it's out for a goal kick. And Jewsbury, a big part of their first MLS season, 7 goals, 8 assists in 2011. He was named an All-Star. Here's the left back, Janderson. Michael Nanchoff, big ball over the top, in the smoke. And it falls to Willis. They've been waiting almost 70 minutes to use the green and yellow smoke, the Timbers Army here in Tucson, and Omar Cummings obliges. Cochran with Ash. Clark. Won by Max Urruti. Urruti running right at the back line, goes down, and ref says play on. Urruti, 3 seasons with Newell's Old Boys in Argentina. Went to Toronto, and then traded to Portland September 2013 for Bright DK. Taylor Pay. Here's Beasler. 73rd minute. Houston Dynamo 1, Portland Timbers 1. Lionel Miranda, the opening goal. And then an equalizer from trialist Omar Cummings. Taylor Pay at the back. Chandler Hoffman caught in possession. Urruti forward, now Cummings against Corey Ash. Now Jewsbury from distance. And he pulls it wide. The smoke clearing now, hopefully easier to see for those at home. Willis preparing for this goal kick. Willis, a big part of DC United's run to the 2013 U.S. Open Cup championship. He started almost all their games as they upset Real Salt Lake in the final. A big bright spot in otherwise terrible season. Here's Lovejoy. Cuts inside. He's looked confident this entire preseason. Now Sturgis forward. Settled on this near side. George Malky. Shakes Janderson. Malky back to Corey Ash. Ash deflected cross. Bit of a scrum in the box. And picked up at the back by Andrew Weber. Weber, quick distribution out to Max Urruti. Urruti's still relatively young, 23 years of age. Second on the Timbers with 10 goals last year. Wide right. Dairon Asprilla, the Colombian, signed with Portland in December. Good work, Chandler Hoffman. Picked up by the Dynamo in the re-entry draft from the LA Galaxy. 14 goals in 19 games with the LA Galaxy and USL Pro last year. Malky forward. Good first touch from Clark. Clark has Hunter to his right. Some contact. Referee says play on. Beasler. Aspria away from Ash. Nanchoff gets it back from Shofive. And a handball in the end. Somewhat unlucky for Dairon Aspria. Looked like he had a step past Ash, but bounced up, hit him in the right hands. Now Aspria can play as a forward, maybe a bit more as a winger, right side preferred. 71 appearances the last 3 years with Alianza Petrolera in the Colombian First Division. 7 goals, 26 games last year.
Please see our website at rnacpas.com.
Clark now wearing the captain's armband for the Dynamo. Taylor Hunter, out of University of Denver, Aurora, Colorado native. Taken by the Dynamo in the 3rd round of this year's MLS draft. Cochran, entering his 2nd season. Got a lot of time last year as a rookie. Former Wisconsin Badger. 77th minute from Tucson. Houston Dynamo 1, Portland Timbers 1. Max Urruti leaves it. Here's Nanchoff right through the middle. Michael Nanchoff onto his left, and good recovery from Cochran, who tracked back. Nanchoff scored Saturday, trying to make it 2 in as many games. Cummings, wide right. George Foshive. Danny O'Rourke. Now Nanchoff. Jack Jewsbury. Foshive back to Jewsbury. And now it's Nick Beasler, middle of the park. When Caleb Porter and the Timbers drafted Beasler with the number 5 overall pick, they said he thinks like a pro, which is a good way to start. Clark away from Urruti. Chandler Hoffman. And now Lovejoy back to Cochran. Horst, good switching ball. Lovejoy first touch towards Sturgis. Right back to Rob Lovejoy. Lovejoy shifting left and right. Back to Ash. Clark in a position to possibly play 90 minutes in this game for the Dynamo. Taylor Hunter maintains possession. Back to Clark. Defended by Cummings. And Clark, strong challenge against Nanchoff. Nanchoff did well to get out of the danger zone. And now Horst and strong on Urruti, former teammates for a brief time in 2013. And you see the outright speed of Dairon Aspria against Corey Ash, a man pretty fast himself, but Aspria very fleet of foot. Somewhat in the mold of Olmis Garcia, another Colombian, plays with Real Salt Lake. Malky wins a throw-in for the Dynamo. Another storyline for the Timbers this preseason. Some of these players, especially those on the field now, playing for right to play with the Timbers first team this year. Some might be playing for Timbers 2 contracts and their starting position this season. Of course, the Timbers, one of several MLS clubs launching a USL Pro team. It's called T2. Lovejoy with Chandler Hoffman, and Lovejoy draws another foul. He's been very good since coming on. Draws his 2nd foul in the last few minutes. Free kick to Houston here in the 81st minute. And now, 2nd preseason appearance for Jose Memo Rodriguez. And he comes on for Ricardo Clark. Clark gives the captain's armband to Corey Ash. So Rodriguez signed as a homegrown player in December. He made a long commute, about 75 miles from El Campo, Texas, southwest of Houston, for training 4 times a week. Sturgis with the set piece, run down in the corner by Jonderson. Rodriguez, the first Dynamo player from Wharton County. Former Dynamo Academy Player of the Year. Good close by Sturgis. He cut down the space for Dairon Asprilla. Timbers Army staying very lively here in Tucson. 82nd minute. Pay wide to O'Rourke. Jonderson. Michael Nanchoff. Urruti. Tried to put in Jonderson, but Horst was there. Now Horst against Urruti. Strong challenge. Sturgis, good composure to find Rodriguez. Now Lovejoy. Trying to push it past George Foshive, but missed the touch just a bit. Can hear the encouragement from Owen Coyle on the sideline, urging Lovejoy back. Dynamo down a man, trying to see this out. It's a 1-1 game. Houston took the lead through Lionel Miranda. And then Omar Cummings on trial for the last 5 or 6 days with Portland. The equalizer around the hour mark. Good service from Cummings. Urruti there, but he heads it wide. Cummings can be provider. 12 assists in 2009 with Colorado. He had 14 goals a year later as the Rapids won MLS Cup. Cummings, 35 appearances in his career for the Jamaica national team. Joe Willis will restart for Houston. 83rd minute, 1-1 the score. Hunter with Memo Rodriguez. George Malky. Pay towards the corner, a bit heavy, as he tried to hit overlapping George Foshive. Pay from Salt Lake City, played at University of Washington. Loaned to Orange County Blues of USL Pro last year, made 14 appearances. Willis killing some time here in the 84th minute. Lovejoy. Rodriguez, it's settled by Jewsbury for the Timbers. Beasler tried a one-touch pass, gives it away. Malky for Memo Rodriguez. Rodriguez from distance, and it's just wide of the right post of Andrew Weber. Weber, well-traveled, spent 2006 to 08 with the Montreal Impact, was a teammate of Dynamo general manager Matt Jordan. Jordan ended his career there as a player, 4 years as a player, 4 years in the front office before becoming general manager of the Dynamo. This offseason, bad giveaway from Pay. Rodriguez wins it. Sturgis with Lovejoy. Lovejoy against George Foshive. Lovejoy towards the end line. And Foshive, good recovery. And he concedes a throw-in. 85th minute, Dynamo 1, Timbers 1. A good, lively game here in the desert. Been physical at times. One red card to Jason Johnson for what I'm sure Edvin Jurasevic will call a hand to the face. Nanchoff. Ash defending, falls to Cummings. Cummings against Cochran. Onto his left. Cochran, good patient defending. Here's Jewsbury. Back to Omar Cummings. Oshive. Nanchoff with Jewsbury. 86th minute, 1-1. And right on cue, the Timbers Army with Fools rush in here in the final 5 minutes. Rodriguez, good work to elude the challenge from Pay, puts in Lovejoy. Here comes Malky. Hunter, back for Horst. Hoffman with Malky, sprays wide to Taylor Hunter. Strong challenge against Jonderson. And Danny O'Rourke back to Jonderson.
Soccer fans, MLS preseason action continues next Wednesday, February 18th. It continues through February 28th. You can purchase your tickets for the Desert Diamond Cup on your way out this evening at the box office.
Dynamo with 5 preseason games remaining. Make that 6. Vancouver here in Tucson on Tuesday. Back in Houston against the Dynamo Academy and Austin Aztecs. And then 3 in Charleston at the Carolina Challenge Cup. Oshive.
Also, FC Tucson would like to thank Resistance Cypher Movie Company and the very capable 9 Mendoza.
4 more preseason games for the Timbers. Beginning Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Central Time against San Jose. And they come home for 3 games in the Simple Invitational from Providence Park in Portland. Ash away towards Hoffman. Taylor Pay at the back for O'Rourke. 89th minute, 1-1 is our score. Leonel Miranda opened the scoring for Houston. And Omar Cummings with equalizer after the Dynamo lost it on the edge of their own defensive penalty area. Taylor Hunter. Michael Nanchoff away from Malky. Pretty good service, but Lovejoy did enough to get position on Aspria. Now in the 90th minute, I'd imagine minimal stoppage time here in this preseason game from Tucson. Free kick to the Dynamo. Malky against Yaruzzi there. And the waning moments of this game. We'll have 1 minute of time added on here from Keno Sports Complex.
1 minute of stoppage time. 1 minute.
Willis forward for Houston. Shrewsbury. Willis will take more time. And there's the final whistle.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The final, Portland 1, Houston 1. Let's have a nice hand.
Both teams stay perfect in these desert friendlies. A Dynamo with a goal from Lionel Miranda. Went up a goal, they went down a man as Jason Johnson was shown a red card, and Omar Cummings, a familiar face, on trial now with the Portland Timbers, equalized for a 1-1 draw. Both teams, I'm sure, happy with the effort and the result. A 1-1 draw, a pretty fair result on the whole. Portland back here on Tuesday, 9:30 kickoff against the San Jose Earthquakes. That will end their time in the desert. A Dynamo kickoff 11 o'clock Central Time against Vancouver Whitecaps FC. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I'm Matt Peterson. Thanks to our production crew for making this broadcast possible. Again, the final score from the Desert Friendlies in Tucson, Arizona. Portland Timbers FC 1, the Houston Dynamo 1. Good night.